Chapter 4. Running Away. As the days passed, Tom stopped thinking about the murder. He had other things on his mind. Becky wasn't coming to school. She was sick. What if she died? Tom was so worried about Becky that he stopped playing with his friends. He put his hoop away. He put his bat away. He hung around outside Becky's house at night feeling sad. Aunt Polly was worried about Tom. She decided to try out some new cures on him. Aunt Polly read all the health magazines and was a believer in new medicines. First she tried the new water treatment. She stood Tom in the woodshed and she poured a bucket of ice-cold water on him. Then she scrubbed him with a towel. She wrapped him tightly in blankets so he could sweat. The sickness was supposed to leave Tom's pores, but it didn't. Tom was quieter and sadder than ever. Aunt Polly tried hot baths, an oatmeal diet, and blister plasters. She tried every cure-all she could find in her magazines. Then Aunt Polly heard of painkiller. This medicine was as hot as chili peppers. She gave Tom a teaspoonful and watched his face. The medicine did the trick. Tom's stomach was on fire. He roared and screamed and raced around the room. He was more like his old self again. Aunt Polly was sure that her young nephew was cured. The next morning, Tom decided to stop moping around. He was itching for an adventure. He took the painkiller off the shelf and gave a dose to Peter the cat. Peter leaped into the air. He screamed and ran around and around the room. He banged against furniture. He upset flower pots. He stood on his back legs and pranced around. Aunt Polly came into the room just as Peter flew out the window. She peered over her glasses. Tom lay on the floor, roaring with laughter. "What's the matter with that cat?" asked Aunt Polly. Then she saw the teaspoon lying on the floor beside Tom. She knew what Tom had done. "How could you treat our poor animal that way?" "I did it because I felt sorry for him," replied Tom. "He doesn't have an aunt to care for him. If he did, she would burn out his stomach with her new medicines." Suddenly, Aunt Polly felt sorry. She had been as mean to Tom as he had been to the cat. Her eyes watered. She put her hand on Tom's head and said gently, "I only wanted you to feel better, Tom, and it did do you good." "I know you was meaning for the best, Auntie. So was I with Peter. It done him good, too. I never saw him move so fast in his life." The best cure of all was waiting for Tom at school. Becky was back. Tom tried to get her to notice him. He did cartwheels, he jumped over the fence, he stood on his head, he ran around the schoolyard chasing boys and yelling and screaming. But Becky didn't even look his way. She was still mad at him for getting engaged to Amy first. Tom heard her telling a friend, "Some people think they're smart, always showing off." That made Tom angry. He ran into the woods. Maybe Becky would be sorry if he never came back to school. In the woods, Tom met his old friend Joe Harper. Joe was tired of living with people, too. His mother had punished him for drinking cream, and he hadn't even done it, so Joe had run away. The two boys were feeling sorry for themselves. Joe wanted to be a hermit and live alone on an island. He wanted to eat crusts of bread and maybe die from the cold. Then everybody would be sorry. But Tom wanted to be a pirate. He wanted to steal his food and live a good life on an island. Joe liked the idea. Being a pirate sounded a lot more fun than being a hermit. Jackson's Island was located on the Mississippi River 3 miles south of town. The boys could cross over at the narrowest part of the river. It was the perfect place for pirates. On their way, the boys found Huck. He was happy to join in the adventure. A pirate's life was the life for him. The boys stole some meat and found a log raft. They paddled across the Mississippi to Jackson's Island and set up camp. Tom wanted to be called the Black Avenger of the Spanish Main. Huck was Huck Finn the Red-Handed, and Joe was the Terror of the Seas. The pirates had great battles on land and sea. They sang songs and took turns being villains. They made a tent out of an old sail. When the sun set, they built a fire and cooked the meat. It was a good meal. "Ain't it jolly?" said Joe. "The others would die to be here," agreed Tom. "What do you say, Hucky?" "I'm happy," said Huckleberry. "I don't want nothing better than this. It's just the life for me," said Tom. "You don't have to get up in the mornings to go to school. You don't have to wash or nothing. "What else do pirates do?" asked Huck. "Oh, they have a great time," began Tom. "They take ships and burn them. They get the money and bury it in awful places where ghosts watch over it. And they make everybody on the ship walk the plank." Tom's eyes were sparkled with excitement. What an adventure this was going to be. Soon the boys were tired. Before falling asleep, each boy wondered if he had done the right thing by running away. Each one decided that stealing was definitely wrong. With their consciences at peace, the three pirates drifted off to sleep.